The idea of cryptocurrency is relatively new and complex. In simple terms, it is a digital currency where all transactions are publicly recorded and every process along the way is secured by cryptography. The most well-known cryptocurrency in the world is probably Bitcoin, but you may not know that there were ones before it. But you don't hear of these ones anymore. Why is that? Why is it that Bitcoin has managed to succeed when these ones couldn't? It all comes down to one of the key beliefs that Bitcoin was founded on: decentralization. Bitcoin stood out amongst competitors in the early days, mostly because of this. But what is decentralization? Well, according to Nasdaq, decentralization means that no single entity has exclusive control over data or processes. This means that money isn't regulated by government or banks. So cryptocurrency was invented to destroy dependence from both institutions to ensure the value of people's funds won't drop just because of decisions made by governments and banks. The creators of Bitcoin went by the pseudonym of Satoshi Nakamoto, and they released a paper in a popular online cryptography forum in 2008, introducing the word Bitcoin. In the introduction to the paper, Nakamoto says on commerce on the internet, while the system works well enough for most transactions, it still suffers from the inherent weakness of the trust-based model. He then goes on to say, what is needed is an electronic payment system based on cryptographic proof instead of trust. To put this in simple terms, Nakamoto is basically saying that there is a need for a currency that has nothing to do with banks and government. Instead of trusting them to keep your money safe and secure, a cryptograph would be used. Bitcoin was a direct result of the 2008 global financial crisis, when the world experienced the worst GFC since the Great Depression. Most people attributed this economic downfall to their respective governments and international banking institutions. This in turn led to a dramatic shift in how people viewed governments and banks, culminating in a serious number of people beginning to distrust the banks. There are many people across the world that still do not trust banks and continue to use Bitcoin as their currency of choice, either exclusively trading with it or only converting it to their native currency when absolutely necessary. Venezuela proves this point perfectly. The country calls themselves socialist, and with their inflation rate of 1,000,000%, from the point of leaving the house to the point of getting to the counter, your money has probably already devalued. There are stories of people not being able to pay at the counter when they could have paid only a couple hours beforehand. Not only is this seen in financially struggling countries, but also developed Western countries. The communications marketing firm Elderman published a report in 2018 on global trust on governments, and it revealed that only a third of Americans now trust their government to do what is right, which is a decline of 14% from last year. Another study carried out by the Facebook IQ team in 2016 showed that 92% of millennials don't trust financial institutions with their money. And on top of this, a joint Harris Poll and Fedzai study that sampled more than 2,000 US adults found that 69% of consumers do not completely trust bank websites to keep their information safe online. Cryptocurrency has the power to change the world in many ways in the long run. If it's adopted into the mainstream society, it would see a decline in the modern bank and force financial institutions to adapt to a new banking world. And it would see a drastic decline in government regulations, as it is next to impossible to regulate cryptocurrencies. As a result, governments will no longer be able to manipulate the price of their currency. On top of this, cryptocurrency going mainstream would see a rise in illegal and black market trading on the deep web, a decrease in fraud and theft, and strengthened privacy with our transactions. Well, as mentioned before, the whole idea behind Bitcoin is that it is decentralized, drawn from an ever-increasing international climate of a general distrust and cynicism towards financial institutions and governments. Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies alike are just minor solutions to what many people see is a problem. Will cryptocurrencies ever take over our global financial system? If it does, what will happen to banks? Will they go broke? What will happen then? What would happen to the job or the stock market? And what happens if cryptocurrencies get hacked?